Hi everybody, my name's Janelle and I'm thrilled to be on the Tickled Pink Studio blog today. I have a couple of tips that I'd like to share with you when it comes to using washi tape on your digital layout. This layout I have already created using Becca and Megan's Little Miss Sunshine collab, and I also used Becca's October template challenge freebie that you can find on the Tickled Pink Studio blog. I really like how these came out. Working with a kit and a template designed by Becca together was really nice because I found that everything she used in her template I could pretty much find in her kit, so that was nice. They were really cohesive and really complemented one another. I do have two pieces of washi tape in my layout, and I want to show you a couple of different ways to help them look a little more realistic. I'll show you. Here's my first piece of tape right here. And here is my second piece of tape behind the title there. We're going to go ahead and start with this bottom piece of tape right here. I'm going to click on it, and the first thing I want to do is give it a shadow. Now, one thing that you really need to think about when you're shadowing washi tape, I've seen a lot of people try and shadow washi tape with something like this, and you can see that it looks like it's almost floating, but of course the tape would be sticking to the paper underneath it. It's definitely not going to be floating in the air, so we don't want the shadow to give you that impression. So we're going to go ahead and clear that out, and I'm going to apply a very, very light shadow, and I'll pull up the specs so you can see exactly what I've done here, but you can see it just very lightly gave me an edge. We'll go back so you can see the difference. There and there, and this is the shadowing that I used for this. So I have a 35% opacity on my shadow with a distance of 3 pixels and a size of 3 pixels. Now you don't want to give it a high distance because that's what makes it look like it's starting to float. So I'm going to go back to 3 there, and then the size, the higher the size, the more blurred your shadow becomes. So you can see it doesn't look like it's a real sharp shadow anymore, and I do want a sharp shadow because tape has such a small shadow, it usually is fairly sharp. So I'm going to stick with a 3 and 3 on the distance and on the size. Now you can also see that when I did that, when I gave it a shadow, it actually darkened up the tape a little bit. I don't really want it to be dark because the tape now just kind of looks like it has taken on that gray. I still want it to have a little bit of the white from the actual tape. So this is what we're going to do. Go over here to your layers panel. Select the layer of the tape and then go down to your effects panel, and you're going to right click on your effects and say create a layer. And what that's going to do is put the shadow on its very own layer so that you can turn it on and off and manipulate it without actually changing your tape. So what I want to do now, I'm going to go back to my tape layer, not my shadow layer, and I want to select the piece of tape. Now because the tape is colored here, it would be really hard for me to go through and select piece by piece. I'm going to select the outside where I know the tape is not, and then if you right click, and when you do this in the magic wand, you can say select inverse. And that will actually take everything that was not highlighted, which in my case would just be my tape. Now that I have my magic wand selection of my tape, I'm going to click on the shadow layer, and then I actually want to grab my eraser. And I'm going to go ahead and erase the shadow from underneath the tape. Now because I used my magic wand selection tool, this is only going to get the shadow that is underneath the tape. It will not grab the shadow along the edges. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make this a little bigger by pushing the right bracket, and I'm just going to erase the shadow underneath my tape. Turn my wand back on and deselect that. And now you can tell that my tape is actually whiter and brighter because it doesn't have the shadow underneath it. Let me show you so you can actually see a little better. See, there it is with the dark, and there it is with the shadow erased. And you can see that I still have that small shadow along the outer edge, which makes it look a little more realistic. It's not floating. I think that's just right for washi tape when it's not sitting on top of anything else or any papers. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing with this one right here. So I'm going to give it that same shadow with a distance of 3 pixels and a size of 3 pixels. And this one, I actually like that it's darkened it up. It's a darker piece of tape, so I'm going to leave it. I don't want to remove the shadow from underneath the tape. You can see it did just darken it up a little bit, and I like that, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with this to help it look a little bit more realistic. Now you can see that it's actually sitting on top of 2 separate pieces of paper. It's in a sense holding the papers together on top of one another. So what I want to do, I'm going to rasterize my layer. So go over, select your tape layer, right click and say rasterize layer. And this is going to make it so that you can change or manipulate your layer. Then what we're going to do is come over here and we're going to select the burn tool. If it's not here, you can right click and it's the one that looks like a little hand in a circle, and select the burn tool. And then my size here is 30 pixels, which I think I'm going to leave at that. And then my range, you want midtones, and exposure, you can do anywhere from 30 to 50%. You may want to play with exposure a little bit just to see what you like best. But what the burn tool actually does is darken things on your layer. So what I'm going to do here, where you have a piece of tape, right along the edge of the top piece is normally going to be a little lighter because the tape is pressing right up against that piece of paper. But just underneath it, just barely, is probably going to be a little darker because you're going to get some of the shadow from the paper underneath your tape. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click right along here. You can see where the paper edge is. I'm going to click at the top and then pull my mouse to the bottom. When I've got a straight line, I'm going to do shift and click again. And you can see that it very, very subtly darkened it up. I'll go back so you can see the change. Okay, a little bit, not a ton. I'm actually going to do it one more time. So I'm going to go back to the top, shift and click. And we'll go back so you can see and darken it up a little more. Now I'm going to go back over here to the burn tool, and this time I'm going to select the dodge tool. Now the dodge is what actually gives you more of a highlight, and that highlight is what I want right along the edge of the top paper. So I'm going to take and click and then come down here, push my shift key and click again, and I'm going to do it one more time. Let's get a little bit brighter. Okay, very nice. And now you can see that it almost looks like you can see the crease in the tape where the tape has laid over the top of the paper. I just think it looks a little more realistic. Let's zoom in a little bit. So you can see here, you can see the highlight and the shadow, and you can play with this. You can do as much or as little as you want. I just think it gives kind of a neat effect. And again, you can see that very, very slight shadow. It's just kind of outlining your tape, just letting you know that it's not part of the paper, but it actually is its own separate layer. Those are the tips that I had for working with washi tape today. Hopefully it was something that you didn't already know and you learned something new. I look forward to teaching you again next time. Thanks for watching.